But when you just are really passionate about something and you tell people you're passionate about it, it tends to just build momentum.
Hey there, welcome back to the Mischief Movement podcast. I'm Zoe, your guide on this journey to shake up the status quo and design a life that truly makes you feel alive. If you've ever felt disconnected, stuck on autopilot, or trapped in a life that feels more like a treadmill than an adventure, you're in the right place. I know that change can feel scary, so let's turn down the fear and crank up the fierce as we transform your life from the inside out. Whether it's solo episodes packed with actionable advice or interviews with some absolute badass human beings who've dared to defy the norm by living life their way, we're here to inspire, activate, empower, and challenge you each week. My mission is simple: to help you reawaken your rebel spirit, break free from mediocrity, and design a life that's anything but dull. You only get one wild life, so what are you planning to do with yours? If you're ready to stop settling, start living boldly, and create a positive impact along the way, let's dive in and stir up some mischief together. Now buckle up and let's go. Today I'm sitting down with the incredible Lara Small, also known as Lara Moto, motorbike journalist and presenter on YouTube's Bike World, Rolls-Royce engineer, army officer, and all-around badass. We dive deep into juggling your passions with a day job, making mischief in corporate environments, and the power of mindset, not just in racing, but in bouncing back from failures, burnout, and disappointments. If you love being on two wheels, I know you'll identify with Lara's passion for adventure and moments of pure freedom. If you're not into motorbikes, I urge you to stay tuned because this is a real, honest, and inspirational conversation on how to create opportunities for yourself so that you can live a life that truly lights you up. So, this week I'm joined by Lara Small, which is very exciting. I actually got to meet you again in the flesh.
Yes.
Would you like to tell everybody what your mischief is?
Oh, absolutely, Zoe. I think my mischief is motorbikes, and I think it's more than just mischief. It's a huge driving passion, and even talking about it, my kind of palms are sweating with how much I bloody love riding my bike. And the reason why I feel like I'm beaming, full of energy about it, is I'm in that kind of post-marshmallow feeling of joy after a phenomenal holiday. And it was certainly interspersed by the opportunity to see you in Italy, because I was enjoying a day off riding, did about 3,500 miles, and we met in the top of Lake Garda, basically, didn't we? I think Riva del Garda. And you very kindly adjusted the diary, which is amazing of you, and we managed to grab a coffee over just looking at some phenomenal mountains. And even though it was like a bit rainy and dreary, just the intensity of the mountainside with the mist is so beautiful. And I feel like that whole holiday experience is still emanating from me at the moment.
Oh, that's amazing. I guess your holiday was, in a way, like the extension of this passion for motorcycling, because you did come over on your bike, didn't you?
Yes. So I was fortunate enough to get a bike from Triumph and do a considerable trip over the northern France and a little bit of Switzerland and Italy. But I think it's kind of coming back to your question about the mischief part of it. I think it's more of trying to challenge the status quo and spending more time doing the things I love, as well as maintaining the things I've worked very hard for professionally, career-wise.
Yeah.
So the bikes are like my escape, but and I probably will think of an example, but less immediately. I do try and seed mischief into kind of everyday life, just to make the more mundane parts of our world slightly more interesting.
Absolutely.
I am an engineer, a middle manager. I work for Rolls-Royce. I'm really proud to work for them. I love to play games in meetings where I tick list bingo words where people have said stuff, or I try and seed in words that you can get away with in the meeting. And try and embrace I know it's still a heavily corporate environment I work in, but one of the graduates that I had the opportunity to look after for about 3 months, I found out what he does in his free time, and he showed me some pictures on his phone of his watercolor painting. I was like, that's incredible. And then somehow the conversation evolved into, well, can you teach me how to do watercolor? And then we ended up coordinating a team bonding event where he became Bob Ross, and he taught us how to do watercolor at work. And we got a conference room. I covered it in newspaper. I made an apron out of flip chart paper. And he found a suitable video and then taught us how to do watercolors, using the theme of the building I'm currently developing at the moment. So we did a landscape with about 10 of us, and this is from like senior management down to like fresh apprentices, just all this stunned silence trying to nail this like a fence line on some bluey mountainside. Yeah, so I try and introduce something just a little bit different at work, just to keep myself engaged and making subtle little changes to a more corporate lifestyle, as well as bikes.
I love that. I love that you brought some creativity and some sort of alternative thinking into what might have been a bit of a dry scenario.
Yeah, too right.
I love that. Well, that's what all the mischief is all about, really, isn't it? So, okay, I know that you ride bikes, but you don't just ride bikes. Like, I want to be really clear about this. You also present on YouTube bikes, and you also race them. So I reckon you must be pretty fearless.
Yeah, I guess so. People either are fearful or have lack of fear in different environments. I don't like swimming pools. I'm very scared of them.
Really?
I'm scared of the drains down at the bottom, and I'm scared of like suction pumps and stuff. But I will try and get an elbow down around a corner at 120 miles an hour on my motorbike. Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, because that's much safer.
No problem with that at all. And I don't think you become fearless. It's over little incremental chunks of pushing your comfort zone, and then finding out what's actually safe. Because believe it or not, carrying speed through a corner with good throttle control and good technical application of your body position and riding position and the direction you're going actually makes it safer to then conduct that position through the corner. And I wish I could remember his name, but the chap that the free climber that climbed, I'm going to have to Google it, I'm going to cheat in, but he free climbed a very famous mountain without obviously any ropes, and you call him fearless, but he knew every single handhold and foothold off by heart for the whole of the ascent. So to him, it's not fearless. He'd lived that mountain for decades before he did it. So I think there's a balance in being fearless.
Yeah, but which also makes me wonder then whether you, in some ways, visualize being out on the bike. Do you do any sort of exercise before you go out there where you're actually, mentally preparing yourself by visualizing yourself going through those 100% those turns?
So when you start taking yourself too seriously as a racer, one of the ways to prepare before the race is to visualize the whole race and where you're braking and where you're accelerating, the gears you're going down on, your braking markers, where you're tipping in, where that kind of apex is, where your body position is, where you're looking up on the way out. Like, you just go through all of it. But that's no different to rehearsing for any kind of event or doing any kind of activity, or when you go into kind of more chasing elite athleticism, you can win by visualizing, really. Even to the point where I think I was doing some self-affirmations, and before I would start a race, I'd go into the toilet mirror and I'd do a superhero pose in front of the mirror. So I'd stand really proud and like stick my chest out and shoulders forward and just say, you are going to win this race. Or I'd do this, like a celebration high V shape. So all those body positions are conditioned in the same way that smiling makes you feel happier. And I just tell myself, you are there, you're going to fight, and do it. It didn't always work out, but at least I started with a plan in mind.
No, I think that's a really good tip. I think that's so valuable for anything, like you say, anything that you're going to do whether it's on a bike or whether it's like an athletic race or whether it's not even a race at all, but just going into something that you
care about,
really passionately care about and want to do well in. Those things have been proven to actually boost your kind of mental state, haven't they?
Yep. But I'll also, instead of filling this whole conversation with rose-tinted glasses, I have cried my whole way around a race inside my helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I came back in at the end in Parc Fermé and I didn't want to talk to anyone. I was embarrassed and I didn't want to be there. So there's
really
chasing the joy of it can also be quite punitive. There is a reality to holding yourself to these standards that aren't possibly relevant to you at that time, and wanting to be the best you can be when actually you should just be grateful for what you're doing. But to be fair, you got to go there to come back. So I have had some tricky times on a bike and many boo-boos. I think I've fallen off a few times now, but that's part of the joy of freedom of being on a bike. Means that, sometimes traction doesn't work in your favour.
Yeah. So when you're actually on the bike, what's going through your mind?
When I'm racing, it's quite a laser intense focus on chasing a tiny inch of tarmac versus other people. Your question has made me think of the first corner at Cadwell Park. You launch off the line and you're probably picking up third, fourth gear and you climb up this hill. But all of you are trying to climb for like this inch of apex where the red and white curbing is. And I just remember, there's two other memories. I just remember going, we're both going to have to fit because this is getting close, and you're kind of rubbing elbows and you're approaching 80, 90 miles an hour trying to get into this climb. And then there was another moment at Donington Park where I was racing this Super Moto, a single cylinder Kramer race bike, and I was having a really good tussle. I was on a faster bike, so that it was a little bit easier, but he was a phenomenal rider. And I remember going into the top of Craner Curves at Donington Park. Now, you never want to be part of the Craner Club. The Craner Club is a bad place to be because you come off and your bike is just obliterated, and hopefully you aren't just so messy. And I ended up elbow to elbow with my friend Booney. And there's no friends on a racetrack, obviously.
Not that you're competitive, obviously.
No, not at all. But we were both like neck and neck on the way into Craner Curves. I was like, well, I'm not moving. This is it. We're going for it. And it's so flipping stupid, Zoe, because if it does go wrong, I might not be here. It's just, but that thrill of just chasing and entering something so fast with your mates is, it's unreal. I was writing a bit of a summary for my website recently, and I think it's riding a motorbike is where I feel most present and most connected with the world around me. So racing aside, because racing is basically I'm faster than you, I'm going to fight. Whereas when you're truly riding and in the scenery, there's a sense of perspective and the feeling of flow. And you can get that with any sport. You can get it walking or anything, even smelling a coffee in the morning. It's just connecting you and grounding you to being present. And so that's what biking does to me when I'm not distracted by stuff.
I do. Yeah. I wondered whether it was like that. That's part of your life. It's not all of it, though, is it? You've got the job at Rolls-Royce, and you're an engineer, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, engineer. So I did an aerospace degree at uni, and then got myself on the Rolls-Royce graduate development program. So I joined Rolls-Royce, and getting to uni was a little bit late, but I wanted to do like a good degree that was going to be quite challenging. So I had to work quite hard through that, and that led to kind of working my way through different leadership positions, fortunately, at Rolls-Royce, largely complemented by the fact that I've done a lot of military training. So I'm a commissioned officer in the British Army, and I'm a reservist. So the military leadership principles helped me on my interview to get into Rolls-Royce on the kind of leadership program that they were recruiting for at the time. And Zoe, you and I both have that in common as well as motorbikes. Because of your military background.
Yes.
And there's certainly the army's pushed me into places that I didn't like. I've been so disgustingly wet and miserable with the army on exercises in the field that I never want to do again. But I feel like sometimes you've just got to be broken down to be brought back up again.
Yeah.
And one of those examples was exercise Cambrian Patrol, where I'd attempted it whilst I was at university and I had the wrong attitude and the wrong mindset. But I tried it again when I came back as a staff member. I got an all-female team to do this 48-hour exercise, really, which doesn't seem that much, but it's about 60 miles, 30 kilograms of all your kit on a challenging patrol scenario. So you have to look after yourself and your team in the field, and then clear minefields and do river crossings and do assaults and do kind of infantry-based attacks. And you just don't sleep for that whole time. And it's just incredibly, incredibly arduous and sapping. And running around in full chemical, but like the full, we call it CBRN, but the kind of gas mask kit, but that head to toe, so hard, and I never want to do it again.
Oh, I still have horrible memories about having to go and do the dummy runs in the gas chamber and gas, and trying to put your mask on in, I don't know how many seconds you've got, like 9 seconds or something, and that's it, you died if you haven't got it on in 9 seconds.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, what I was getting to, it's just the stuff I've done with the army has pushed me way beyond what I think I could do. But with that group of girls, we're still the highest performing all-female team ever to have completed it. The opportunities that I've had with the army have been phenomenal. And I'm now like a ski instructor with the army, so I get to teach other people how to find their best feelings on snow, because the army taught me. I raced motorbikes for the army, so I was part of the British Army motorcycle road racing team. I've skydived with the army, skeleton bobbed with the army, and I've also done military training on behalf of like homeland resilience. Well, I got mobilised to go to Iraq because I'm trained in finding improvised explosive devices, but COVID kicked in just as we were doing our mission rehearsal exercise, and the whole battle group had to stand down. So I was so close to actually doing something abroad. I've got a great respect for how the army trains its soldiers and leaders, and I think it's helped me considerably with resilience in everyday challenges with life. But you've got to dash it with mischief. I haven't figured out how you can put mischief in the army, but I kind of figured out that the more you go up the ranks, the more mischief you can add.
I would say exactly the same.
In lower ranks, you kind of get told off for doing mischief, and then higher ranks, it's like, fine, you can wear red trousers, that's okay.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, because for all the things that you enjoy doing, you're in very male-dominated environments in all three of those. So how do you deal with that? I mean, does it present problems because you're a female? Do you feel the need to prove yourself because you're a female?
I think if I was truly honest, I'd feel more intimidated in an all-female environment.
Really?
Yeah. And I wish I could give you an answer as to why that is.
Maybe it's because, I don't know, is it just what you're used to?
Maybe.
Are you just used to being surrounded by guys in every environment that you're in?
I went to an all-girls school, and that was brilliant. But I've just chosen a path where I guess it's more male-dominated. In the UK, like there's engineering abroad is far more, especially what I've noticed in the US, far better gender split, and in Europe. But I've not really noticed it too much. But I'm trying to think whether it's a kind of a dated question now, or whether I've just gone blind to it.
I don't know. When I was in, other women who were senior to me used to say, in order to be seen to be performing at 100% as a woman, you've got to give 110.
I've heard that, and I thought about that recently. So maybe that I've got a bit blasé with it, but it's a kind of extra discretionary effort to feel like you're being seen as a peer rather than something subservient.
Yeah. I was just curious because, of all the things you could be doing, we're talking about 3, and they are just quite sort of male dominated. But I guess what I love about what you're creating is that you are designing a life around the things that you love, the things that you enjoy. It's not the case that you're working in a way that means you can only do these things at the weekend. You're squeezing them into tiny pockets. You're actually organizing yourself to be able to do these motorbike trips, to do the filming for the YouTube, and you've found a way to incorporate it in such a way that you are able to do the day job, the presenting, the army stuff. I'm not going to ask you if you found a balance, because I don't know. But what's interesting to me is that you're doing the things that you enjoy. When so many people I know are stuck in their day jobs, they hate them, and they just cannot see a way of incorporating anything that they do enjoy because they either haven't got time or they haven't got the money. So I love talking to people who've got like lots of different passions, and they're finding a way to bring them into their lives and have a bloody good time whilst they're doing it.
Yeah. It's certainly a challenge though, and my now husband recognises and tries to tell me, you're doing too much, you're going to burn out. And eventually he'll find me kind of wrapped up in just a pile of duvet on the bed somewhere, like I'm done now, and I can't even keep my eyes open. So I've not in any way suggesting that I've nailed my ability to organise it. And the other penalty is that I'll struggle to be present when I should be. So my brain will be, I like the dopamine of you doing your favourite thing, so you need to plan your next favourite thing on your bike. And I'm meant to be like paying attention in a work meeting, whether it's Rolls-Royce or Army, and my mind will go, oh, but you could be doing this. No, this pays the mortgage. This is your army duties. Get back in the room. I can't help but chase the next thrill.
Yeah.
So I think there's a rationality in manage my time and trying to be more present in what I'm doing at the moment. It's a bit of a struggle, but it's not too bad. And there's always time in the margins to seize little snippets of making progress with your favourite thing. Because in the same breath, I am far more happier, powered, energized at work because I'm getting the little snippets of movement to the other favorite thing. So that I think it's kind of swings and roundabouts, and the more companies allow their employees to celebrate and find their happy, find their mischief, the better, because you end up with a much, much happier workforce. There's a series that I'm absolutely fascinated with. It's a bit odd, but it's called Severed, and it's about a corporate climate where prior to work you have a chip fitted in your head, and when you go to the office and you go in the lift, the chip activates, and then you perform your work having no knowledge of what your life is outside of work. You know you have a person outside of work and you are that person, but you don't know about if you have family, what your hobbies are, what you do. You just turn up to work, you do your 8 hours and you leave. And I find the concept so fascinating because when you leave, the chip kind of switches the other way and then you have no idea what you do at work. And I'm curious to see, it's a part comedy. It's by a relatively famous comedian, but and it's very well acted, and it's a little bit odd and dystopian. But I find the principle really, really interesting because as I walk down the stairs from my office, and I kind of go, I've delivered what I need to do today, and I don't really watch hours as much. I kind of go, right, this is what I need to do. I've delivered that, move on. As I go down the stairs, my life comes flooding back to me. Oh yeah, I've got this to do, and this sort out, and this to collect, and this to do. And I was like, all right, now we're in Lara zone. And then it all kicks in. Sometimes that can be overwhelming, sometimes not.
Like, what have been some of your struggles or obstacles in getting to this point where you can now enjoy your career as an engineer, have the army, have the motorbiking? I'm sure it hasn't all been plain sailing.
No. I think probably the major struggle with engineering is two ways. My degree was incredibly difficult. I really had to push myself to get that over the line. I definitely enjoyed most of it, but it was cheeky. And the other one was the reason why I celebrate and encourage others to celebrate their kind of freedom outside of the 8 hours we get paid to be at work is because I got so obsessed with a job about 4 or 5 years ago where I didn't make that time for myself. And I thought that working really hard and not really stopping was a good idea, and not really telling anyone to the point of utter burnout. I'd say I don't really know what the true definition of depression was, but I'd just get into work and then I'd just sit and cry at my desk and I couldn't see my screen. I remember being told to look at this Excel spreadsheet and I was too embarrassed to stand up because my face was streaming. And then I'm crying in the toilets and then go to the doctors and then crying at the doctors. And he was like, you need to take some time off work. I was like, I'm too scared to do that. I didn't have a really strong relationship with my manager at the time. And I felt like I'd failed and I was looking for an easy way out by getting signed off. And I was just like, that's the opposite of like the Lara win, do, can, succeed attitude. I think I was just the right person, wrong job, maybe. So I was pushing out 60, 70 hours a week for too long. And I know people do more than that, but I just totally burnt myself out. And I'm really glad I did because it caused I pressed a big old reset button and I went on a trip to the Pyrenees on my Ducati and we're going up Col de Tourmalet, I think in France, which is quite an aggressive cycle on the Tour de France. It was a bit of a clouds breaking into the view moment and then it hit me like a brick. It's like, oh, this is what you want to do. Go and do that. I came back after that holiday, designed a logo on the Brittany ferry on the way home with my friends, called it Lara Moto. The first logo was rubbish because I drew a helmet, but a helmet with like speed and wind coming off the back of it. And my male colleagues were like, no, that just looks like sperm. You can't use that as your logo. And then eventually settled on like Lara Moto because moto is quite a easily translatable word. It means motorbike quite literally in at least in Italian. And then I went to Fowler's in Bristol and said, I would like to ride your bikes, please, and make videos out of them. And I have no intention of buying them, but can I? And they said yes. And I made Lara Moto and then made a YouTube channel.
Okay. There is a lot of stuff that you just said there. Like, I mean, first of all, the most recent thing, I guess you just weren't afraid to ask them, or were you? Because I can imagine people being like, oh, well, I could, but they might say no, and then what will I do? Whereas you're just like, I'm just going to see if they'll let me a bike to film.
Yeah. I don't know whether the give a shit attitude kicked in at some point. But when you just are really passionate about something and you tell people you're passionate about it, it tends to just build momentum.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yeah. And it's really interesting that things really did come to a head before you were able to kind of see how things could play out differently.
Yep. Yeah. Proper meltdown. And also bear in mind, I was too scared to talk to my camera in my garden. So after that Pyrenees trip, I did my first YouTube video about the bike I owned with my GoPro on that trip. And that's the one that's somehow been the highest performing on YouTube I've ever done. But that's because most motorbike journalists, that's me now, basically ride a bike for 2 hours and then try and share an opinion on it. Whereas the Pyrenees trip, I actually took a bike and spoke about really reviewing it for 10 days on tour, and therefore it adds a lot more value.
Yeah.
But I was too scared to talk to my camera, even alone in my garden. But
how did you get over that then? Or was it just a sense of, I mean, you had this kind of reset inside, and what happened? Was it just a bit of a fuck it moment? Were you just like, fuck it, like I don't want to be doing it this way and I do want to be doing it this way, and so I'm just going to have to get over this fear of talking on camera and do the thing?
I think well, I kind of got swept up by the YouTube revolution, like loads of other people doing it, so I was like, why can't I do it? And then
good attitude though, not like, oh god, I could never do it, but well, if they're doing it, why can't I do it?
And the other bit is no one cares. So you get I think I got so perturbed with what people are going to think. And I was at Californian Superbike School doing a brief video about one of their level training days. And it was the first time or second time or so recording in public where I'd put my GoPro on a little tripod and then sat in front of my bike and spoke to it, and then loads of other people around it in the paddock. And I was too kind of scared to start talking to the camera, and I was like, no one fucking cares. They're too busy sorting their own lives out to even give a slight gnats whatever about you. Just try not to get them in the shot because they might not want to be in it. So just start talking. And then the other bit is I went to Bristol Bike Festival and took my camera with me and went, I'm going to interview people. Let's see what happens. And then just walked up to people and said, I'm Lara Moto, I have a YouTube channel. Would you talk to me? And then you suddenly become a BBC presenter at that point. Because I think it's because you're leading the situation and you're owning it and going, I'm just going to have a chat with people. There happens to be a camera here, which makes it a little bit weird, but let's just pretend it's not there.
I love that, because you are literally saying, I want to be a bike journalist. I have a YouTube channel. I have a camera. I'm going to go talk to people, and that's it. It's like, I want to be the person. I'm being the person, and you're doing it.
Yeah, in a very distilled 4 years in the making way.
I know. I'm oversimplifying, but
and the same way I am too.
I get the sense of something clicked in you that you had to just embody.
Yeah,
who you wanted to be before you were even there. It was like
we manifested, we made it work. But it's I think the final bit I struggle to remember now, but it's what I'm really enjoying is creating content, but it's about bikes. It's not about me, and I'm trying to take away my ego because sometimes you can take it too far. No one cares about you. They just want to see how you as a person can help them on their journey, whatever that is. I'm just a conduit to encouraging more people to find a sense of freedom, and you're a conduit to finding more people to find a sense of mischief. Mm-hmm. And so the toying with the kind of ego versus content and what it can open up in people is a careful balance. I'm still toying with that now, but I think that's perhaps what the army's taught me a little bit, is that you are literally nothing without the team around you and the people around you. So there's messaging in the framework and Venn diagram of my life that blends itself more than I think it does sometimes.
Can you see that? Can you see these kind of common threads that kind of play out in the different areas of your life?
Yeah. The army taught me quite a lot about failure when I had the wrong attitude, and that haunts me if I think I'm doing that again in Civvy Street.
Yeah.
Because I went through the Sandhurst commissioning process, which takes about 4 or 5 years to get to that point, and then the final exercise, and then I've put a lot of effort in whilst I was at uni to get there, and then in that room we got segregated, a handful of us that were the day before we were commissioning. I got separated and told I wasn't going to pass and I wasn't going to commission, and this is why you're not a team player. You had the wrong attitude. And it was a very, very grounding moment when I had to tell my parents that when they travelled to Sandhurst, I was like, I failed. We're not going to do a commissioning parade. We're just going to go home. And there's a lot of deep cries at that point. And then a lot of deep hate. I hate the army. I hate the people that sent me there. I hate the whole process. Why me? Blah, blah, blah. Because what else are you going to do other than hate the system that you wanted to be part of? And then a couple of years later, I was like, oh, actually, maybe it's not the army. This system that's existed for many, many hundreds of years based on military discipline and rigour. Maybe it's you. And so I ate all the humble pie and went back. I didn't suddenly become brilliant, and I still think there's underlying behaviours where I still focus on what I can get out of something rather than what can the team get out of something. In the same breath, is that excusable? Are we not all self-centered in such a way? But there are ways of making a team win, and it's definitely more brilliant to do that with people. So I commissioned for the second time, and that was a major life lesson. So whenever I feel like there's a challenge to be undertaken at work, I'm more orientated around the people I can bring with me rather than putting myself in the limelight. But then on reflection, is this whole kind of YouTube and journalism bit, growing an Instagram account, is that because it's now feeding the ego that I've parked for a while? Or is it just, I just want to have fucking fun on a bike and I want to record it, so here's the content, take it or leave it?
What do you think it is?
Probably both. Well, I think I just like sharing what I've got up to. But there's probably a balance of, are you doing this for camera or are you doing this for you? And I think I'm still figuring that out.
Do you think it's okay to do it for both, though?
I hope so.
I think it is.
I hope so. I sent a message to Ben, my husband, recently. I was descending into Bormio in Italy, and I was quite tired because we'd had quite a few big days, and I just started crying on my bike on the way into down this hairpin. And yeah, I've still had the video now, and I sent it straight to Ben, and I was like, this is why you do this. It was absolute happy tears. I was so overwhelmed and tired, but just utterly blown away by the view and the scenery I was in and the bike I was on and the hairpins I was devouring, and had a really good cry and just stopped to go, anytime you feel sad at work or you're just, things aren't right in life, watch this video. And I told myself that and said, look, that this is why you do it. This is what you're grateful for. You're crying because you're happy. And so I'm going to keep that as in my motivation bucket when things do get a bit tough.
I think the people that are watching your content, the people that are involved and invested in your journey, because it's going to be as much about the bike reviews as it is to see you growing and your racing capacity and what you're going through. I think they also want to see that side of you. I don't think it's selfish to want to be doing something and sharing it with other people, but wanting to do it from a place of, this really matters to me.
Yeah.
I could say the same about what I do, but I don't feel selfish about it. I don't feel like I want to apologize that I enjoy doing this as much as I enjoy sharing it. So I don't know. I just want to say to you, I don't think it is selfish. I think it's normal that you love something and you want to share that with other people. There's always going to be a bit of you in there. As you say, like maybe you want to achieve a balance between making it about you and how it helps other people, for sure.
Mm.
But there's going to be a big part of like what drives you in whatever you're creating, and you don't need to apologize about that.
Okay. I appreciate that, Zoe.
That's what makes you a great person to be doing this content. If you weren't passionate about it, if you weren't that interested, if you weren't the person who's crying as they finish a really long day on a motorbike because it's just so fucking amazing, nobody's going to want to tune in anyway, because you just sit there in a sea of, I don't know, half-hearted journalists who are like, oh, this is fun, we just get to ride a bike, because as you say, when you're that passionate about something, it's contagious. And it just, that's just what you transmit. So don't stop being you. Don't filter that passion out because you feel like there's too much of you coming through. That's the thing that people enjoy, I think.
Thanks, Zoe.
Well, I guess I will probably see you this summer at Women in Moto, will I?
Yes,
be
please.
Back there?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we've got new adventures to launch. Trying to plan a trip to Slovenia with Maya, Biker Maya on Instagram. And we hope to launch that at the Women in Moto event. So 10 weeks off-road now. So no longer a tarmac princess. I'm going to learn how to ride capably and take an adventure bike off-road with Maya.
Oh, that sounds super fun. And what else have you got lined up then? What's, have you got any sort of strategies in place or a plan for where you want to arrive in terms of like the YouTube channel or anything else that you want to create? Or are you just very much playing it by ear?
Still cuffing it a little bit. So my own YouTube channel, I've not done anything with for a very long time. It was a baseline. So I wish to create more content with Bike World because of the time efficiencies. I turn up I create the content, and then I give the SD card to the producer, who then gets rid of all the waffle and makes it viewable on Bike World. And I really enjoy that because with the way I'm running my life, I need to work, deliver at work, and then go and do the bike stuff, finish, and then go back to work. I don't have the time to have editing hangovers. And then, so I'm going to do more adventure. I think it's just really setting up for just more off-road skills. So if my mantra is ride all the bikes, then I need to develop my skills so I can ride all the bikes. At the moment, I'm a very good road rider. I'm going to learn trials riding because I'm scared of rocks. Again, same reason of feel fearless when it comes to high speed turns, but I'm really scared of jumping over a rock. So I'm going to build that confidence level up. And I'm going to do that with the Stuart Day Trials Day team. And I'm going to do some off-road training with the Honda Adventure Centre, the Dave Thorpe Honda Adventure Centre with Maya. And then we're just going to ride along the Trans-European Trail to Slovenia and see what happens.
Amazing. And
then I should probably find time to be grateful and spend time with my husband, spend time with my parents, see times with friends and family, because none of it really matters without them. So I think in the balance of life, I should probably do yoga, read more books, and spend time with friends and family. Be more mindful.
Do you know what? We all have that problem, though. Have you got any, I don't know, have you got any like hacks or tips in terms of things that help you to organise your life?
I guess it's just, I do keep lists of everything and then get really overwhelmed with the lists, but it helps me just write stuff down. Now and then I'll stop and replan and go, right, this is a lot of stuff to do. How am I going to do this? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, what do I hope to achieve in those kind of sideline margins, 2-minute jobs in the week? I did do something in Google Calendar. I made my perfect week. Ali Abdul, Feel Good, Live Better, or something like that. A book he wrote. But I was listening to his podcast, and he basically opened up a new Google Calendar, block out like when you'd like to wake up, when you'd like to go to sleep, when you actually have to be at work because mortgages, and then what actual time do you have around that to do stuff during the working week, and then what's your perfect weekend. And if you write down what your perfect weekend is and you don't find the time to have your perfect weekend, then you're kind of missing out on what that perfect moment is. So Ali Abdul explains that a lot better than I just have, but that helps me give me a sense of focus, as in like, oh, there really is full time to do everything I want to do. Right, let's start prioritising. But I do burn out because I've just said yes to everything. And like past Lara says yes, and then future Lara's like, yeah, it'll be fine. You'll have all the time in the world for that. And then present Lara's like, fuck, what have you got me doing now? And I want to go to bed, and now I have to learn how to do wheelies on my mountain bike because you said you would going to do that. So it's like, please stop. That's why I was napping before coming to see you, because I was like, oh, I need to sleep now.
This is what happens. I mean, you know, you live at 100 miles an hour, more than 100 miles an hour. Yeah, your body will just jump in and save you.
Literally just pulled out the USB stick and went, nope, no, that power cord's gone. You go and go to sleep.
Oh, Lara, it's been wonderful talking to you. And it just fills my heart with joy seeing you go off and do these amazing trips. And I don't know, maybe you haven't found a balance, but you've certainly found a way to integrate the things that you enjoy.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show what's possible when you really want the things to happen. Where can people find out more about you? We mentioned a couple of different YouTube channels, but where's the best place to connect with you or find you?
Daily life is just going to be Instagram. I'm still building a website and figuring out what that means, because that can tell my story from a broader perspective of not just bikes, but Army and Rolls-Royce. But yeah, Instagram works. And then I do have a YouTube channel called Lara Moto. Instagram is called @LaraMoto. But a lot of the kind of more professional content will come out of the Bike World YouTube channel. And I'm really proud to be part of that team. And what's particularly special about it is it's about the bikes and is a very capable presenting team to talk about them. And it's just really good motorbike content of adventures, off-road skills, on-road skills, and all the bikes you could think of.
I haven't even asked you about how you got there. How did you even get involved with them?
because it's the first rule of achieving your goals, Zoe. Tell other people about your goals and then go and do your goals.
Nice.
So because I made a YouTube channel and it gave me a public window, I got a phone call about 4 years later and said, would you like to come and present with us?
I love that. I'm waiting for the radio station to phone me.
Yeah. Yeah, but make a thing and other people see you doing the thing and go, oh, you can do that thing for me.
Yeah.
It depends if you want to sell your soul, though, because could I have built my own profile and chinned him off? But it suits the lifestyle and we're going from there. Something about aiming for the moon and landing amongst the stars. Blech. But it kind of
Did you just say that? No, you didn't.
It's so true, isn't it? Because I didn't know I was going to be working as a journalist, but
yeah,
there was things I like doing and things build momentum, and that's where we are, with a little bit of mischief.
Obviously. Oh, well, Lara, thank you so much. And all the best for your next big adventure. I'll be watching to see what occurs on the ride through Europe. And I'll speak to you again very soon.
Thanks, Zoe.
So, ready for my takeaways? Here we go. Number 1, you can start to sow the seeds of mischief even in a corporate environment by thinking outside the box. Where could you add some fun? How could you deliver a training in an interesting way? Also, take the time to get to know your team so you can discover what their outside interests and hidden skills are so you can bring more of those into the workplace. 2, you don't become fearless, you just start to fear less in small increments of stretching your comfort zone. 3, don't underestimate the power of visualization and affirmations to help cultivate a winning mindset, not just on a racetrack, but in any moment where you're challenging yourself. 4, being ambitious is great, but don't let the big goals or disappointments take you away from the overall joy of the thing that you're doing. 5, Lara said, sometimes you've got to be broken down to be brought back up again. Or put another way, breakdowns can create breakthroughs. 6, keep making time for your outside interests, even if that can only be in the tiny cracks and pockets between other things, because you will still see the progress and it will keep you feeling happier and more energized in the other areas of your life. 7, when you're really passionate about something or have a big goal, start telling people about it and sharing it. And it will not only build momentum, but could also open up completely new and unexpected opportunities. 8, you can always reframe your fear of creating something like a blog, a podcast, or video content. Instead of asking, why would anyone be interested? Turn it into, why not me? 9, take ownership of that dream or goal and start behaving as though you're already achieving it. Embody that person that you want to become before you're ready, and you will then grow into that person. And number 10, plan out your week and weekend and block out the time for the stuff you love doing so that you can start prioritizing it. However, I would caveat that at the same time by saying please schedule some downtime so you also don't burn out. That's a wrap on another episode of the Mischief Movement podcast. If today's content stirred something in you, let's keep in touch on Instagram or connect with me on LinkedIn. You can even click the link in the show notes to sign up to my Mischief Mail newsletter, where you'll get exclusive insights on upcoming episodes and your chance to submit questions to future guests. But shh, don't tell anyone, it's our secret. For more info on ways to work with me and some fun free resources, check out the website themischiefmovement.com. Until next time, stay bold, stay rebellious, and of course, keep making mischief.
It's frozen. I don't know if it's broken. You've gone quiet. Where is Zoe gone? Oh no, Zoe.